So, hello and welcome to Leadership Soundbites with RokoM and Michelle. And this week's episode is going to be on the power of simplicity. And when Roko and I talked about this, Roko's like, okay, say more about that. And here's the genesis of it, right? Is that recently I was coaching a leader as they were preparing for, of all things, an interview for the next level up in their career. And as they were preparing for the one of the questions I asked is, why this organization, why this location, why this organization? And if we don't think about that, it can be a stumper. So as she started to prepare for this, it was almost like things were being overcomplicated with the description and the overthinking part of it. And what I realized in coaching her is that the complexity that she was creating in her words put up walls and barriers. And I'll overlay it with John Maxwell and his book on Everyone Communicates, Few Connect, is that the simplicity in our words allow people in so that we can connect with them on a language they understand. And so I want to give you a quote, and then Roko, I want to hear from you. So on the power of simplicity. And this is from all people of Albert Einstein, which just made me smile, obviously. Is if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. And so I think in that is this, I think we use it as barriers and walls, and unintentionally keeping people away so that we may feel safer. Don't come too close because you may know what I really know and know what I really don't know.
Yeah, when you first brought it up, what I was trying to think of is like, why would people be verbose and make it more complicated or use words that might confuse people? And when you shared what your thoughts were on it around, it helps people keep a distance, or maybe it's just that they don't understand and they're trying to explain something that they really don't understand. So it's an interesting perspective. And when you were explaining it, the quote that came to mind for me was around Mark Twain. And we say this when we're teaching A3 thinking, but he apologizes for the length of his letter. If he had more time, it would be shorter. And so it's really about, for me, what I think about around simplicity is, are we spending enough time gathering our thoughts and articulating what it is we really want to say to whoever that audience is? And if we're not, then maybe we are spending too much time and complicating it. So we haven't really thought through what that key message is that we'd like to convey to somebody.
What came to mind when you were talking is getting rid of the noise, right? Getting rid of the noise and the complexity and all that stuff. But the other part of it too is, and again, I've said this and I remind myself all the time, is connecting to heart. So are we speaking words that have meaning to us? Are we conveying something that has meaning to us? And when we do that, I think back to Brene Brown and Dare to Lead and everything else, right? Are we being vulnerable and exposing what we really feel and who we really are? I mean, are we really this complex? I mean, there are people out there that's just how they're wired. But the majority of us, I think it's more simplistic terms. I think we can say things easier and not have to overcomplicate stuff. And in that process, we let people in because I think we're more relatable.
So the visual, as you were describing this to me, was the instruction manuals for assembling things. They used to be these, books with small print. And I mean, there were probably 100 different line items of how to put something together. And now some of the really good manufacturers have just pictures. They'll label the item and they show a picture of it connecting, and it's, one page. So again, simplicity. We can complicate things by giving so much detail that average person probably wouldn't know, or to your point, the sixth grader, explain it to a
The
sixth grader.
6-year-old.
The 6-year-old. 6-year-old. Explain it to a 6-year-old. Or we can make it very simplistic. And the person or most people will be able to connect with that simplicity.
And understand the other quote that I'm going to just paraphrase because I don't know verbatim, but it was the other one around. If you speak to a man in a language he understands, you connect with his mind.
Yeah.
If you speak to him in his language, you connect with his heart.
Yeah.
And I think that simplicity of whatever it is, to where the IKEA with the drawings and the little stick figure, and literally it's everyone's language, right? In that case, and the airports do that. That if you see the icon with the female with the dress, that it's a woman's restroom versus the man's. And so I think you're right. It's in those people. Don't put people off and invite them in versus going someplace and it's just in a language that no one can even read or understand.
Right.
But
so
I think
as a leader, yes. So as leaders, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Michelle.
You're fine. We do that.
I get so passionate. I gotta say it.
Don't do what we do. Don't do what we do.
So I'm always trying to think about, okay, as a leader, where this comes into my day and how can it be useful to me? And I think about all the meetings that we're in, preparing for those meetings. Most of us have to put some kind of slide deck together. It's not just about the speaker notes or what you're going to say, but it's also the slide decks, simplicity with slide decks. I mean, one of the greatest learning moments with you was when we were putting together a training, and we probably had, I don't know, 80 slides and we, laid them all out against the wall and we're like, okay, this is just too much. So paring it down, what is it that we really need to say? And then once we did that, it was looking at the actual slide, what was on the slide. And most of the time you said, is there one visual that we can put up there that will speak to the message that we're trying to convey, as opposed to putting 10 bullets where people are having to read the slide as we're talking to them. So that was the visual that came to mind is if I'm a leader and we're having to attend a lot of meetings and actually present, thinking about simplicity in those terms. How do you create simplicity even with the materials that you're sharing?
It's I have to smile because I think one of the more powerful and engaging presentations that I went to was, and I don't remember who it was, but literally he just had pictures and he spoke to what the pictures were, and the pictures, I, as a member of the audience and other people, I could connect to those. And because of that, I could then hear the words that he was saying and the message he was saying to support that, because I wasn't trying to read the narrative that they had up on. And I mean, I don't know how many times I've gone to where literally the person speaking is saying every single word that's on the slide. And I'm just like, send me the deck. I don't need, these are handouts. This is not. And so I think a lot of it too is there could be a fear on the part of the presenter that I'm going to forget something. And so it literally is everything up on the slide deck instead of in speaker notes. And it's like, if you need to say things verbatim and there's things that you don't want to do it, put keywords up there and have it printed out and read from it. Right. But if you want to connect with people on a different level, literally use visuals. And I love, in fact, Microsoft has the selection of the photos, the stock photos they have now for PowerPoint stuff. Right. It's awesome because I can literally just put a photo in there and all my speaker notes are there. And I'm going to tell you the story of this picture, but I'm not having your brain compete with, are you going to read what's up on the slide? Or are you going to hear what I'm saying? And so you're absolutely right. It's simplicity in all those connections, the words that we say, how we convey messages, but the visuals. that we're showing up with in different meetings. Allow people the chance to sit back and hear the words that you're saying instead of having to read and compete, because they're not going to hear a doggone thing that you're saying if they're reading the slides.
Right. Right.
So true, Roko. So true. I love that.
Yeah.
So power of simplicity. What are some final thoughts you have? What do you want people to walk away with?
So I think it goes back to what you said in the very beginning. It's all about connecting with people. And if we want to connect the mind and the heart, because I don't think it's an either or. For me, it's both.
Yeah.
Simplicity is the way to do it. So really think about what you want the person to walk away with, and what's the best way of expressing that.
Yeah. For me, I think it's the part for us as leaders, and leaders being everyone, basically, we all have that opportunity to step in. But actually ask yourself, if you're one of those that has 50 zillion words on a slide, or over engineering, what you want to say to somebody and all that, is step back and ask yourself why. What's the thing getting in the way? What am I really feeling that is causing this to happen? And I encourage you to aspire to let a lot of that stuff go, and allow the opportunity to connect with people. So anyway, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And I appreciate you being open to the power of simplicity. So this has been Leadership Soundbites with RokoM and Michele. Please like, share, subscribe. If you have a topic that you want to talk about or something that comes to mind, let us know. And until next time, have a great day.
Bye-bye.